Are you blaming yourself for the avoidance behavior? Are you blaming yourself for the way they shut down? Are you blaming yourself for the way they didn't communicate with you? Are you blaming yourself for the way they pulled away? Or are you blaming yourself for the way they discarded you and showed you no empathy? Are you blaming yourself? If you are, there's a good chance that you were on the receiving end of gaslighting by the avoidant. Severe avoidance, both dismissive and fearful, especially fearful avoidance that lean heavily dismissive, are prone to gaslighting their partners. And what is gaslighting? Gaslighting is when the person doing the gaslighting plants the seeds of doubt in the mind of the other person to get them to doubt their perception of reality. And when avoidants do this, it's because they're trying to escape accountability. If you are doubting yourself, if you're doubting your feelings, if you're doubting your perception, they don't get held accountable because they are blaming you for their behaviors. And if you're blaming yourself, it worked. Now, they can use gaslighting in multiple ways to escape accountability. Avoidants are people with a very specific set of fears, and these fears stem from consistent childhood emotional neglect. They were not given that love and nurturing in the way that they needed. And because of this neglect, they developed a deep wound of shame. It's because they personalized the neglect, growing up to feel defective and unlovable, like there's something wrong with them. But that wound of shame is why accountability is so incredibly difficult for them. It's also why things like emotional closeness, disagreements, expectations are also triggering to them too. But with accountability, if they were to take ownership of their insecurities and their behaviors and acknowledge that their behaviors hurt you, in their mind, it would be the emotional equivalent of confirming their own defectiveness. See, I did this wrong because I'm defective. See, I hurt my partner because I'm a bad person. It's too painful. It's confronting their own shame. So to avoid confronting their own shame, they will shift the responsibility of their actions and their insecurities onto their partner or something else. Because if it's your fault or if it's somebody else's fault, they don't have to self-reflect and take accountability, which means they get to avoid that wound of shame. They don't have to confront it. So, for example, if you wanted consistent communication, if you wanted to spend quality time together and you expressed that, they called you needy. They said that you were pressuring and being demanding. Rather than taking accountability for not showing up in the relationship and not showing concern or empathy for your needs, no, they blame you for being wrong for having those needs and feelings. It's just too needy to expect things of them. See, and if you buy that, if you believe it, guess what? You just doubted your reality, you doubted your feelings, you doubted your needs, which means they escape accountability. When they shut down and when they pull away and blame you for being, like I said, too needy or pressuring, or you're just too difficult or things like that, again, escaping accountability. When they discard you and abruptly end the relationship and blame things along those lines, or just claim that you're incompatible or you just want different things, etc. Again, gaslighting you. When they're downplaying the significance of the relationship, it was never anything that serious. The commitment was never that serious. Oh, it wasn't like that. They're gaslighting, again, getting you to doubt your perception of reality so they can escape accountability. Narcissistic people will absolutely gaslight to escape accountability, but they will also gaslight to try to gain power and control over their partner. Avoidants generally don't seek that kind of power and control. The only kind of control they generally seek is to control the emotional distance in their relationship, but they're not necessarily seeking to control their partner. But they absolutely will use gaslighting to get you to doubt yourself. And doubting yourself helps put you in a pit of anxiety because you're questioning your feelings, you're blaming yourself for their behaviors, thinking that you are just not good enough to be loved and wanted by them. Gaslighting is actually considered to be a form of psychological and emotional abuse. No, the avoidant is not doing it for the intention of abusing you, but it is abusive behavior nonetheless. And it helps put you into this pit of anxiety and self-doubt, and it makes it so much harder to heal when you're blaming yourself. But stay grounded and recognize your perception of reality is valid. You're allowed to have needs. You're allowed to have wants. and you're allowed to have feelings about their behaviors. Don't doubt your perception of reality, and understand when they are gaslighting you, it is because they have a wound of shame and they are trying to escape accountability. It's no bearing of your worth. And don't doubt yourself, because that self-doubt will only push you further into anxiousness. Instead, affirm your perspective. Recognize your feelings are valid and remind yourself of that as many times as it takes so you don't get sucked into that fog of self-doubt and gaslighting confusion.